risk of having a serious heart event. This is a proven heart attack. This is death from heart disease. This is really bad stuff. Fibrinogen is a determinant of what? What have we been talking about tonight? Hemorrheology, or the Methuselah factor. So low fibrinogen, good hemorrheology, low risk of heart attack. High fibrinogen, bad hemorrheology, high risk of heart attack. It's true with viscosity, okay? Low viscosity, good for your blood fluidity. Your Methuselah factor is good. High viscosity, look at that. Fourfold or more risk. I mean, this is huge. You know, you'll hear studies, they'll say, oh, this increased the risk of this 20%, or increased the risk of this by 30%. This is increasing risk by 300 to 400% or more, okay? This is huge, but hardly anyone talks about it. Now, this last one on here might be surprising to you. It's the white blood cell count, WBCs, okay? You guys are getting better at my trick questions. Are white blood cells good or bad? They're both, actually. You're right. Here's why. You need white blood cells to deal with infection. Well, let me tell you a true story. Some years ago, a Christian pastor called me. He had known about my work, and he called me. He lived, was the time he was living hundreds of miles from me. By the way, still lives hundreds of miles from me. And this guy called me up, and he said, Dr. Derose, I got really bad news. I said, well, what happened? My doctor said I've got to start eating meat. This pastor was a vegetarian. I said, why did he tell you you need to start eating meat? He said, my white blood count was too low. What do you think? Would eating meat raise his white blood cell count? It actually likely would. But here's what I told him. I say, I know a better way to raise your white blood cell count. And he said, what? And I said, start smoking cigarettes. I did. That's exactly what I told him. Now, he knew I wasn't going to recommend that he smoke cigarettes. What was the point I was making? Just to raise your white blood cell count is not necessarily good. And I explained to him something that many, even physicians, don't realize. And that is the white blood cells are like the police cars in your body. Now, if you're broken down on the side of the road and you don't have a spare and you forgot a jack and you forgot your cell phone, would you be happy or sad if a police car came by? Most of you might be happy. Just depends on your background and your experience with the police force. But let me ask you this question. Let's say you're driving home tonight. And as you're getting closer to your house, you start seeing more and more police cars. How many of you are starting to think, well, this is good. They're stepping up the police protection in my neighborhood. Is that the first thought that's going through your mind? And you pull up to your block, and you just see all these squad cars and lights going. How many of you are starting to feel really good? You say, well, I'm glad that they were all here when I was gone because make sure nothing bad happened. Is that what you're thinking? How about if you come to your house or your apartment, wherever you live, and you want to pull in the driveway or the parking lot, and you can't get in because there are so many squad cars? What are you thinking? Well, this is great. At least they're all... Is that what you're thinking? What are you thinking? Yeah, something terrible must have happened, right? This is the same with white blood cells. If you've got a whole bunch of them, this is your body saying, we've got problems. Meat is actually not your friend. It's pro-inflammatory. It raises your white count. Smoking raises your white count. If you don't get enough sleep, your white count will go up. We actually know the higher your white count is, the more likely you are to develop diabetes. So actually, low white counts are better. Turns out that pastor who called me, his white count had always run pretty low. And in fact, if you get on a healthier lifestyle, your white count will generally go down, and you'll still have plenty of white blood cells to fight infection. Okay? High white counts, worsen blood fluidity. And you can see it right there. Again, doubling or tripling the risk of a heart attack from a high white blood cell count. Well, we could spend all our time tonight talking about those first 10 or 12 chapters in the book, and you'd see that blood fluidity affects your vision. If you've got problems with macular degeneration, glaucoma, or diabetes affecting your eyes, improving your hemorrheology, many studies that have looked at this can make a big difference. Cancer, that's a really interesting one. You know, most people say, well, I can understand blood fluidity in stroke, blood fluidity in heart attack. Blindness, well, I guess there's small blood vessels that supply the eye. Well, maybe. But cancer, how is that related to blood fluidity? We have a chapter in the book about this, but let me just give you one study. And this study was actually done in a journal called Clinical Hemorrheology and Microcirculation. And what they did is they measured blood fluidity markers in women who had been diagnosed with female cancers. And this may not be surprising to you, it shouldn't be. In women who had ovarian cancer or cancer of the cervix, you know, the opening of the womb, those ladies, when they measured their viscosity, if it was high, they had more risk of blood clots after the surgery. You say, well, that's pretty obvious. If your blood fluidity is bad, you're going to have more blood clots. But here's what was really striking. Viscosity was a predictor of future survival. So if you had thicker blood, high viscosity, they found that you were more likely to die from your cancer months or years later. Now, why would that be? Well, here's what the authors said. I'll read actually from the medical journal, and this is actually just from the medical journal, and I'll describe to you what they're talking about. Plasma viscosity was measured preoperatively in women undergoing surgery for gynecologic cancers. So that means they measured these things before their surgery. And like I said, it was a risk factor for future thrombosis. That's blood clots, blockage in the blood vessels. And here's their statement. In gynecologic cancer patients, so these are women with cancers, the combination of an increase in RBC aggregation, tendency of red blood cells to clump together, okay? Predictor of blood fluidity. The worse that was, and the worse the viscosity, what did it do? It impaired blood flow properties. They're saying it made hemorrheology worse, okay? It made the Methuselah factor worse. And then what did that do? It induced hypoxia in the microcirculation. What does that mean? It means in the tiniest blood vessels, your cells didn't get enough oxygen. Those tiny blood vessels weren't getting oxygen to your cells. The blood was stagnating, favoring, you see it there, favoring thrombosis and the settlement of tumor cells into those microclots, and then the cancer spreads because the immune system can't access it. Do you see how that works? So, what we've been talking about, and we're going to hasten on to things you can do now to improve your Methuselah factor. But are we all on the same page? Can you see how important this stuff is? You know, whether we're talking about cognitive decline, or whether we're talking about high blood pressure, whether we're talking about diabetes, weight gain, whatever it might be. We could go through all kinds of studies tonight. Like I said, most all of this is in our book if you want more material about it. And again, I'll give you some way to get some free videos to tell you more. But we will not take your time talking about how important it is. I think I can see you're all convinced it's important. So we are going to go ahead and we are going to talk about things you can do to improve your blood fluidity. Now, if you picked up a copy of the book already and you'd looked at all at it, you'd see the last 30 chapters in the book, one chapter a day for a 30-day lifestyle program. Now, out of the goodness of our hearts, we're giving you that program free without buying the book. You say, well, how could we do that? It's in this free online program. the program, 30 Days to Better Health. Did any of you sign up for that last night? Okay. I want to encourage you to do it. Sign up. And tomorrow night, if you're here, we have a follow-up series that I'm doing tomorrow night. And tomorrow night, I'm very excited about what we're going to be talking about. If you know anyone who needs to improve their health,